Okay, today is November 26, 2022. And I'm looking here, my hair is all disheveled. Doesn't matter. I just want to put these out and do some talking. My appearance probably not the greatest in the best of times. Anyways, I don't think anybody's watching this for that reason. Anyways, my topic today is whether or not exercise can be bad for you. Can exercise actually shorten your life? And so, first of all, let me put this into perspective. Whether I'm talking. It's obvious that if you're doing exercise that's dangerous, that causes injuries because it's poor form, things like that, that's bad. But let's say let's put that aside. Even though you are exercising, I'm going to ignore the safety aspect of it and just talk about exercise as something that is often referred to as being good for you, and how could it be the opposite? Well, I think one of the things that is a mistake that we make in general about many things is we think of one thing as being good for us and another being bad for us. And I think of the word hormesis, which is when you expose yourself to something extreme, and as a result of that extreme exposure, your body adapts to it in order to protect you from it. And so occasional exposure to extremes can be good for you. So proper exercise intensity is simply a form of stress. There are many stresses in your body: sunlight, overwork, being tired, emotional stress, perhaps relationship stress, money issues, deadlines at work. Of course, if you're not lucky enough to live in a Western society, who knows, you could be in a place where there's outright violence going on around you. And of course, those are stresses that I'm happy to say that I've not had to deal with for personal safety and things like that. But, what happens is there's a balance. And Doug McGuff has talked about this in his book, saying that a definition of health is to be in balance when it comes to being in a catabolic state and an anabolic state in the right amount of time. So I don't know if that's exactly, if Doug was watching this, he could put in comments and let me know if I'm misunderstanding what he meant. But when you do exercise, when you expose your body to stress from exercise or anything, your body seeks to adapt to protect from it. So we know that in the absence of any stress whatsoever, that you'll atrophy. So for example, if you were in a hospital bed because of an illness or an accident and you were in a coma and you couldn't move at all, you would atrophy very quickly because your body doesn't have any stress to deal with. And if you were bedridden for 2-3 weeks, whatever it is, you could get to the point where if you were doing absolutely nothing, where just getting up and walking around after that period of time might be very, very difficult to do. However, of course, if you were working out every day for 8 hours a day, and also dealing with all kinds of other stress, probably wouldn't need to be that bad. There's a point at which your body's ability to adapt to stress is going to be overwhelmed. And as a result of it, then your body will not be able to do it. So I use some weird analogies because often we hear, well, smoking is bad for you, drinking is bad for you. Well, drinking alcohol, when you were, say, 11, 12, 13 years old, whatever it is, depends on culture, and maybe you stole some alcohol from your father's bar, and you had a few drinks and you got really, really drunk. And then later on, of course, you learn to drink more and were able to have a couple of drinks and function and be coherent in these things. Maybe you even went to college or hung out in a blue-collar town where drinking heavily was part of the culture, and a person might become somebody who was known as being able to drink other people under the table. Well, what's happening in this process? Well, your body, your liver, I would think in particular, is adapting to alcohol. And technically, one could argue that your liver is more able to do its job as a result of being exposed to this alcohol. But what we know is that there's a temporary situation here. If that continues over time, a person will eventually overwhelm their liver's ability to do that and wind up with cirrhosis of the liver from over drinking and things like that. So we know that alcohol may be, to some extent, I don't drink at all, that's a whole other story, but that it is adapted. Who knows that light cigarette smoking might not help your lungs. I have no science to back that up, but maybe make your lungs more resistant to certain other air pollutants if you were to, of course, make the be able to find some sort of a proper balance between inhaling toxic substances and then allowing your lungs to adapt to that. Not something I would recommend in any case. Well, exercise, of course, by and large, is considered good for you. And so the mistake that people make is they make this mistake that if a little is good, more is better. But again, it comes down to a balance. And that's why now you hear stories about ultra marathon runners and things like that. In some cases, I've heard issues where their incidence of lung cancer and things are not necessarily lung cancer, but cancers in general are similar to that of smokers. And to me, that only makes sense because what you're doing is continually providing stimulus to your body in a form of whatever, I'm using the term very exercise loosely, let's just say activity, and not being able to recover from it. So basically the idea here is rather than think about more is better, whatever it is, that you have to find it as a balance. Because if you look at it, the other statistic that you might want to go up is, do professional athletes live longer, and world-class athletes live longer than the average people? I don't think that's actually generally the case. Of course, in some sports like professional American football and Canadian football, there's apparently evidence that their lives are shortened dramatically. And there could be other factors at play in that case. But anyways, the idea is exercise is, to use, again, Doug McGuff, I often steal from him because I don't have a lot of original ideas. I read and see what makes sense to me, is he refers to drugs and having a therapeutic window where a drug below a certain dosage is ineffective, above a certain dosage is toxic. And he refers to exercise as being a powerful drug. So you want to find that therapeutic window, or a drug or exercise can go the wrong way on you. So that's why, when you're thinking about overtraining, undertraining, things like that, people mostly think about, how their results are, but you should think about how you're feeling overall. If you're feeling drained all the time, you have the various symptoms of overtraining, lack of appetite, difficulty sleeping, more injuries, things like that. It's not just, disappointing that you're not getting the results you want. You could actually be doing yourself harm and possibly taking years off your life. Anyways, food for thought. Thank you for listening.